So before we actually get into today's video, I want to talk to you guys about jerseyfifa.com, because as you can see, they have hooked me up with a load of fresh shirts for this year's World Cup. I've got the England home kit, the England away kit, and also a nice little retro shirt. And you can do exactly the same if you head to jerseyfifa.com using the link in the description down below. They also do the same for club football as well. The latest home shirts, away shirts, but also some really nice retro kits. If you are interested, head to the link in the description down below and use code jerseyfifa for a discount when you order. Now into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where we are back with another Manchester United tactical preview. This time we're looking ahead to their game against Everton in the FA Cup this weekend. Now, I think the FA Cup represents a really good opportunity for Manchester United and for Ten Hag to get their first trophy in this kind of new era that is starting at the club. And I think these days people look at the cup a little bit differently to how they used to, but for me personally, I still think it's a great way to win a trophy, and I think winning trophies is big for a team. I think kind of you look at the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City, before they went and won their Premier League title, they were winning other trophies beforehand. So this is a way for Manchester United to kind of take that next step in their development. They never really managed it under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, so the FA Cup does represent a good opportunity for Manchester United to win something, and that's why I would be going with quite a strong lineup, and I think Ten Hag will do the same. He's spoken several times about the importance of winning a trophy. I think he sees the FA Cup as a good way of doing that, so I think it will be a strong starting 11. As for Everton, I've got their same 11 from their last game on screen here. Now, they weren't too good in that game, so there is chances that they rotate. Also, they might rotate because it's the Cup. However, in my opinion, Lampard desperately needs to win every game at the moment. He really is under that much pressure, so I've gone for this lineup. We'll have to wait and see what it is. But let's take a look at how Manchester United can beat this Everton team, look at some of the issues they might face. And the first issue that they will face is that I do think Everton will come and play with an intensity. A real intensity to the way that they do things. They will squeeze quite high up the pitch and try and put Manchester United under pressure. Now, I've seen people talking about this on Twitter, about should you press Manchester United because they're so good in transition. I think you can get at this Manchester United team still by pressing. And the way that Everton will look to press is essentially in a 4-1-4-1. Davies and Iwobi in midfield, or whoever it is in midfield, will both push high with Idrissa Gana Gueye just behind them. The wingers will be up on the fullbacks, and I think Manchester United will struggle with this because we've seen it so far this season. Manchester United aren't great at playing their way out from the back. Now, rather than suggesting certain structural ways that United could kind of break this press, for me the most important thing is going to be that Ten Hag gets these players sharp and on it right from the start. The last couple of games, Manchester United haven't started particularly well, a little bit slow, a little bit lethargic. They can't afford that in this game. Everton are really going to be up for this and really pressing high with intensity. The players need to be sharp. That's why, for me, I would be playing Lisandro Martinez at centre-back. I think he kind of demands a sharpness and kind of sets the standard for the players around him. So I would be using him in the defence. I would also like to see Dalot back in the team. I think for his ball-playing ability under pressure. But Manchester United will need to be sharp. In terms of structure, they could potentially drop Casemiro a little bit deeper into the box at times to try and help out, kind of shift these Everton players about a bit in the way that they're pressing. Of course, when you press man for man, like Everton will do, the best way to try and break that press is to move players about, because you're then dragging them out of position. So that is something that Manchester United can do, and I do think that if United players are on it, I do think we will see them kind of growing into the game, having an increased amount of possession and forcing Everton backwards. If this does happen and Manchester United are able to get out of the press, then Everton will retreat into a bit more of a mid-block. However, they still will play with intensity. This isn't going to be a mid-block that kind of sits off and cuts off passes. They want to pressure at the moment. That is how Everton are playing, with the likes of Iwobi, Davies and Gueye really providing the engine in the midfield to try and get after you. So that is something that United are going to have to deal with. And for me personally, I would be changing shape slightly. Recently, we've often seen Manchester United building in a 3-1, with one of the fullbacks or one of the midfielders dropping deeper and then having a solo pivot like this into a 3-1-6. That's not what I would be going for in this game. In this particular game, especially as Everton only have one forward, I would be going with more of a 2-3-2-3 or a 2-3-5, whatever you want to call it. And I think this will allow United to, one, play around Calvert-Lewin, using Varane, Casemiro and Lisandro Martinez, or again, whoever the personnel may be in those situations. I think that will allow United to kind of take that out of the game. But I think importantly, what it also does is it allows Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes to start a little bit higher. And I think this is important against this Everton team, because what Everton do is when the ball goes wider into these areas, they like to come out and press you. Particularly Iwobi on this side, but also Davies on this side. They do like to come out and press you. Now, from Everton's point of view, there is nothing wrong with that. However, structurally, Everton are just a bit of a mess at the moment. And when they come out and press you, their timings and their positioning is just not quite right. Lampard isn't getting it right at the moment. So I think if United start with their midfielders a little bit higher, either side of Idrissa Gana Gueye, I think there are opportunities to kind of draw the likes of Iwobi out, play round them into Christian Eriksen. So if it was me, I would be starting these two central midfielders, Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes, quite high up the pitch, and then getting them to kind of start them high and then drop deeper coming towards the ball. I think that could be a really good way of exploiting some of the holes in this Everton team. For example, if Iwobi does want to come and press, then United can work the ball round into these gaps. And it's something that Brighton done really well against Everton, finding midfielders in these holes. And it's why, for me, I think Bruno Fernandes and Christian Eriksen could be the most important players in this particular game. I think they're always right up there with two of the most important players because they are some of the best passers and creators in the team. But I think they represent a really good way of Manchester United progressing the ball. Because I think Everton can get caught out in these areas. If they want to play with this pressing intensity, and especially with someone like Lisandro Martinez, who is happy to take extra touches on the ball, La Pausa, as they call it in Spain, where you just kind of stop, draw someone onto you, and then open up the pass to someone else. Having Lisandro Martinez in the team doing that could be really useful to get into these gaps here. I think there are also opportunities for Manchester United to progress the ball out wide as well. And personally, the way that I would be looking to use the fullbacks is whatever side the ball is, I would have that fullback wider and the other fullback inverted. So let's say Manchester United are trying to build down the left-hand side. I would have Luke Shaw playing quite wide on the touchline, and then Dalot on the other side, or Wan-Bissaka tucking in slightly more narrow, and then when United try and build down the right-hand side, do the opposite, of course. Because I think you can get at this Everton team, and I don't think, again, their timing of pressing isn't very good. So McNeil can be slow to get out to you, Gray on this side can be slow to get out to you, or not even just slow, sometimes they don't know if they're meant to be pressing you or not, and I think Manchester United need to take advantage of that. If Everton are going to come and press, and try and put pressure on the ball, then if United are good in their wide combinations, then again, there are these holes that you can get players into. And for me, this should be the focus for Manchester United, the wide combinations. It's why I think Bruno Fernandes again needs to kind of hold this right half space rather than drifting all the way to the left. Because I think United can hurt Everton down both sides of the pitch. Whether it's through Shaw down the left-hand side or Dalot or Wan-Bissaka down this side. I certainly think there are a lot of ways that United, with wide combinations, can get at this Everton team. Now, in terms of the wingers, I've got Garnacho and Rashford on screen here. We know Van der Beek isn't going to be available for the game. Sancho isn't available for the game. I think it's fair to assume that Anthony won't be available for the game, considering he weren't even in the squad the other day. So Rashford and Garnacho pretty much are the only options, apart from maybe Alanga. That's not ideal, because Rashford isn't a right winger, so hopefully we could see Garnacho and Rashford kind of swapping positions during the game. But either way, what it does do is it gives United a willing runner, but also a willing ball carrier and dribbler on both sides of the pitch. So again, that's why Bruno Fernandes needs to play on this side. So United can attack down both sides. And again, like I said, those wide combinations for me really are the key to beating this Everton team. Because they do leave holes either side of Idrissa Gana Gueye. So if you can work the ball wide and then inside to Bruno Fernandes, or out wide and then inside to Christian Eriksen, I think Manchester United could then have some luck. I think they could also have some luck with longer passes as well. And perhaps this is something that we could see with Marcus Rashford playing on the right wing. If he can make this sort of run from out to in when Lisandro Martinez is on the ball, or potentially even Luke Shaw, or potentially Casemiro, or potentially Eriksen, I think that's another way that you could get in behind this Everton team. Because the way that they were pressing against Brighton, they did hold quite a high line, but Connor Cody and Tarkowski haven't really got the pace to go the other way. To be fair, Pickford is pretty decent at sweeping up behind the defence, but it's certainly a ball that I would try a couple of times during the game. Trying to get in behind that defence, I think you could hurt them. But what we can see is that in general, there are plenty of ways that United can kind of, firstly, get out of the press with that sharpness in their passing and their control, but then also in this middle area, really dominate the ball but also progress. For me, the key is in these wide areas, but also in these pockets of space for Bruno Fernandes and Christian Eriksen. If United are able to keep progressing the ball, keep dominating the ball and getting into good areas, I think there's a real chance that Manchester United can have quite a positive display here, especially if they play with the right intensity. The likes of Lisandro Martinez and Rafa Varane, they need to be passing through the lines, try and get Bruno Fernandes receiving the ball and Christian Eriksen. But again, importantly for me, I think the key is going to be these wide players. I think Garnacho against Coleman, with Patterson now injured, and Rashford up against Mikalenko. I think they're two mismatches. I think that the wingers need to be really positive and aggressive in the way that they play. Now, that means that over the course of a game, you are going to lose the ball. So if United play in this way, Rashford will lose possession a few times. Garnacho will lose possession a few times. But it's kind of something you just have to accept. Wingers are going to lose the ball. It's how wingers play. I think this is really the key for Manchester United, because Everton will try and crowd over the ball side. So I think United need to be brave in the way that they play in these wide areas. Again, try and get Bruno Fernandes into these pockets, but also get the fullbacks in support of the attack. But also, again, have the far winger trying to really hold the width. Because I think there are plenty of opportunities for United here to work the ball backwards and then work the switch over to the other side. And then we know how Garnacho likes to dribble. He likes to be really aggressive with his first 2 touches to really drive at the defence and get them retreating into their own box. And again, once in these positions, Everton just aren't very good defensively. They're conceding a lot of goals in the Premier League, and all round they're just not very good, Everton. So I think if Manchester United are on it, I think if Ten Hag can get these players sharp right from the start of the game, I think if the key men perform, then United have every opportunity to win this game and to progress in the Cup. I think Martial, performance-wise, needs to be a little bit better than what he has been in recent games, but I also think he needs to be a bit more ready in the box. He's had 2 big chances in the last 2 games where the ball has come in and he hasn't quite been there with the header. One, he just missed the ball, and the other, he couldn't find the target. I think he needs to get back into that goal-scoring form that he was in earlier on in the season, but I think this does represent a good chance to do so. I think his link play can also be useful as well. Once again, with Everton's midfielders at times being caught high, United could certainly outnumber Idrissa Gana Gueye and kind of drag them about the pitch. In general, I just think this should be a very winnable game for Manchester United. However, as I always say, there are no easy games. Everton have plenty of quality themselves. We know that. They will kind of bring a threat on the ball. Damari Gray is in good form. Calvert-Lewin, with his height and his aerial ability, is always a threat. There will be problems for Manchester United in this game. However, personally, I am quite confident that they can get this win. But I guess now over to you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What would you go for in terms of starting 11? Would you rotate or would you stay very strong? Would you bring someone like Elanga in or maybe McTominay? Fred, let me know what you think. And what are your score predictions for the game? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video. And as always, I will see you in the next one.